Hey, this is Matt from Chez, Pascal and the Worst Kitchen. And today, we're talking about compound butters and steamy mussels. We know it's been a little while since we've done these videos. We've had to dust off cobwebs and figure out how to do this all over again. But we're really committed to doing this. We really enjoy showing some of our favorite dishes and, visiting farms. So we thought it would be great to start highlighting some of the dishes that our customers have always asked us, how do we do this? How do you make this? Can you give me a recipe for this? And we've always said, sure, 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 and then we just never have. So today, we're gonna focus on making a compound butter. So a compound butter is essentially using an unsalted butter and adding a flavor and ingredient to it. So for us today, we're doing Pernod butter. And why are we doing Pernod butter? Because we're gonna show you guys how we steam open the mussels. Now, I always like to think it's really difficult to do, so that's why we never want to tell people it's actually really easy. If you have all your mise en place ready and you follow some simple guidelines as far as how to steam something open, okay? So we're gonna start making a compound butter. And for that, for us, because we're doing Pernod butter, we need parsley, we have salt, we're using shallots and garlic, we have Pernod, which is an anise flavored liqueur, we have white wine, and then of course you need butter. Now recipes will follow in the notes below, so for now it's really important about just understanding the method of how to do this. So the most important thing for this is your butter has to be soft, and I mean soft, okay? So whether you throw it in a microwave, keep it at room temperature, depending on the temperature of your house, you can put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in some warm water, lots of techniques to get the butter to the point of being soft, but it cannot melt, okay? Melted butter, it just does not work. It doesn't come together. You can't separate it. It has to be soft, just like if you were gonna cream it for cookies, nice and soft. Right? So we have our garlic and shallots. So basically for this, you need a blender. Whether it be a bar blender, we're using a Vitamix, because essentially we're gonna puree everything to a paste, and then that gets paddled into the butter. It wasn't until just recently that I got myself a Vitamix. And I always thought, blender is a blender. But there is a difference, and these things are incredible. We used to make this into a food processor, where you'd put the parsley, the shallots, run it in the food processor, add your butter. It was good, but blending it is really the way to go. All the flavors get blended, homogenized. It's just a better product. So we're starting with garlic and shallots, which, believe it or not, we're still getting local from Wishing Stone Farms. That's going into the blender. We have our salt. That goes in. I mean, this is a really easy recipe. And what's great about this is that once it's made, we freeze it. And it's always ready to go. Use it when you want it. We have our Pernod. We have our white wine. And then, of course, our parsley. Now, the trick with this is you have to make sure you have enough product in your blender. So we're starting with, our recipe is a 1 pound batch, because you need enough to get the blender moving everything around. It freezes, it holds well. There's no reason why you wouldn't want to make a pound of this. 2 pounds even better. It goes on, we put the top on, and then we just turn it on. So we've just finished blending it, and what I was looking for is I was watching the color and making sure that it's really vibrant green. You can over-process it and lose its color. These machines spin at such a velocity that it'll actually heat up the puree and it could discolor it. We want all that chlorophyll to be really strong and vibrant in the butter. It adds flavor, and the color too is just beautiful when we make our sauce. So essentially that's what we're looking for. Everything is pureed. We'll scrape that down. And then from this point, this is where we mix it with our butter, and we're going to go into our KitchenAid. It can be mixed by hand, but if you have a KitchenAid, it just blends it much better. It gets a little air in it as it's paddling. It's in the KitchenAid. The parsley and Pernod mixture is pureed in the bottom. Our softened butter has gone in, and we're just going to turn it on slowly to start mixing. Don't turn it on high at the beginning because the liquid will slosh out. Now I'm going to turn it off for a minute and scrape it down. And then on it goes again. Does take a few minutes. If you're wondering at what point do you stop mixing it, so think about it if like you were creaming butter and sugar. What we're doing is we're obviously trying to mix the butter and the parsley mixture together, but we're also trying to aerate it. We're trying to get it light in color and fluffy, so when we put it into our pastry bag to pipe it, it's a lot easier. If this butter was hard because it wasn't softened properly, and then we go to try to pipe it out, it's impossible to do. So it's really important that the butter be soft. Room temperature, you should hit it with your finger and it should squish easily. Okay, now we just want to scrape everything down and we're going to fill. It's really best to do it in a pastry bag. You can buy disposable pastry bags, or if you have a cloth paper bag, pastry bag that you use and wash and reuse is great. We're going to show you how, if you don't have either and you have a Ziploc bag, that's something that can be done as well. So you can put it into a Ziploc bag, cut the end, and pipe it out. And the reason we're piping it out is for us, it's easier to control the amount that we use per order. It'll look like this once it's piped out. And we'll show you here, like that. We keep it frozen. And then when we're using it, let's say for service on the line, we keep it in ice water. The reason we do that is because the fat doesn't blend with water, and it's easier for us to grab it into individual pieces and won't melt together. Okay, so the Pernod butter was blended. Again, just kind of scrape it around, make sure it's all incorporated. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill our bag. So what I like to do is there's different ways to do it. You can hold it in your hand like so, and then fill it with the other hand. Or I find it a little easier to put it into a container and put it down. And one of the things is tricks about working with a pastry bag is you don't want the part that you're holding all greasy. So that's why we're filling it this way. This is not going to be touching any butter. You have better control when you're piping it out. Then we just fill this. And you want it all in there. So other uses for this butter, we use it with our escargot. It's what goes on top of the escargot before we bake it. Also, melt it on a grilled steak or a pork chop right when it comes off the grill. Put a compound butter on there. It's delicious. So there's many uses for this butter. We're going to lift this up. And you see, we want to keep this edge nice and clean. And then we're going to work this stuff right to the corner. Now you have to get the air out of the bag, right? And you want to kind of work it down to the point. Just like so. And then we're going to squeeze it out right on the tip here. All right? Now, you could also roll this into a log. We could have taken this butter, just like if you make sugar cookies, you could put it on parchment paper or plastic wrap and roll it into a cylinder, freeze it, and then slice it and keep it in water as well. We're just going to snip off the end. And then by using the pressure on your hand here, it should all come from one hand. You shouldn't really need to use two hands. We just pipe it out. Just like so. Just like that you can do, okay? The pastry bags are the best, but if you don't have it, I mean, you have to learn to improvise. So we just do that, and then we're going to freeze it. It's important to be sure you're using, when you're piping out the butter, you need parchment paper or do it on plastic wrap. If we were to do it straight onto, like, say, a baking dish, it's a lot harder to remove once it's frozen. The Pernod butter was made, piped out, put in the freezer. Another thing you can do too is if you want to use it right away, you could actually pipe it right into ice water. It'll solidify, and by putting it in ice water, it's really easy for you to handle. They don't get stuck together. They keep as individual pieces. We need to talk about mussels and what to do with mussels. We need white wine. We need mirepoix, what we use. Okay? These are all things that are part of your mise en place. Remember, we used to use that word way back when? In order to successfully steam these, you want everything ready to go because it goes very quickly. And if you're running around trying to get all your ingredients, you lose the heat of the pan. You want everything to go in at once and cover it right away, and that's what we're going to show you. So now we want to talk about mussels and what to look for when you have mussels. So first thing, we get them, we wash them, we rinse them off, we look for the beard. Now none of these mussels have the beard, and it's what the mussel adheres to the rope culture. You want to remove that. You have to physically pull it off the mussel. We rinse the mussels. If you're storing the mussels before you use them, obviously keep them in the refrigerator. They don't like to be in ice, but if you do have ice over them, protect them with a wet towel and make sure the liquid can drain out and not sit in the mussels themselves, all right? They can freeze. You want them cold, but they actually can freeze. We inspect the mussels. We look to see, if you squeeze them, if they're gaping, right? None of these are right now, which is a good sign because that means they're really fresh. But if they're gaping, meaning they're open a little bit, you want to take the mussel and just give it a little squeeze. If it doesn't close after you've squeezed on it a little bit, get rid of it. That's an indication that it's dead. All right? So all these are in good shape. So now the way we do our mussels in the restaurant is we use a saute pan as the vessel to hold the mussels. We use another saute pan. Now this is a sauteuse, but for demonstration purposes, it doesn't matter. It wants to be really hot. Okay, that is the most important. So if you don't like having steam coming into your house, take it out to a grill, put the pan on the grill, get it really hot. But again, the trick is quickly cooking the mussels is what produces a really good product. So I'm heating up my pan. I have my mussels. The way we do it again at the restaurant, our mussels are in order. We take about 5 or 6, let's say 6 pieces of Pernod butter, but I feel like putting 7 in. We put in mirepoix. We like mirepoix. It's really aromatic. It gives nice color to the mussels. It adds flavor to the sauce. We're basically making a pan sauce here, people. We're using butter and wine. The liquid, the juices that come out of the mussels, it all emulsifies. It forms a sauce. And that's really the trick, and that's what people love to dip the bread into after they've eaten the mussels. So our mirepoix goes in. So this is how you would do it. Everything goes together. White wine. Now again, using wine, it wants to be a good quality wine, but doesn't have to be the most expensive wine. Save that for drinking. You buy a less expensive for cooking. We're using wine for acidity and for a little bit of flavor, but it's mostly for that acid that we want. And now, we want to make sure your pan is nice and hot. And when you do this, you want to have your lid ready to go. And be careful, there might be a little splatter. There's going to be steam. Steam burns really badly. So in they go. And you want to capture all that steam. Just let it go. So the mussels went in. One thing you want to be sure, if you're using a lid, you want the lid to give enough space for all the mussels to open up, but not so much room that it takes too long for that pan to build up all that steam heat, all right? So this is what we have. And again, don't have the inclination of wanting to open it and look. Now we happen to have a glass lid so I can see what's going on in there, but if you don't, give it a few minutes. Give it about 4 minutes, 5 minutes. The one thing that can happen is if your pan is really, really hot, the wine may evaporate before the mussels start putting out their juices, and you just have to pay attention to that. So after that 3 or 4 minutes, you would open up your lid real quick and see how the liquid is. One thing we'll do is we move the pan around just to hear the sizzling to know that there's still liquid in there. But the liquid can evaporate, and that is not what we want because you run the risk of burning it. So it's good to have a little stock on hand. I don't like to add more wine because adding more wine, it doesn't cook out and it affects the finished flavor. So we just kind of swirl these around. And now I can see that they're starting to open, which is a good thing. So I am going to, at this point, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes, we're going to look at it really quickly. Okay? And you can see how they're all opening nicely. Give it another minute or 2. All right? Just like that. So again, make sure whatever lid you're using really fits the pan to capture that steam. The mussels are finished. They've steamed. They're all open. The sauce is reduced. It looks perfect. So I'm going to turn it off. And how we finish it a lot of times is we'll serve it with a grilled crostini. So grilled crostini, whether you're using a baguette, ciabatta, focaccia, whatever it might be, some sort of style of rustic bread, the one thing that I was taught way back when, and something that's so amazing and so simple to do, is once this bread has come off the grill, you take a raw garlic clove and you rub it on top of the bread. And I know we've discussed this before in other videos. The garlic, because the bread is hot, now the bread has to be coming right off the griddle, whether it's a griddle pan, a grill, nice and hot. You rub it with garlic. We've got Pernod, we've got garlic, it's all in the butter, and now we're bringing that flavor back up, really up front, right at you. So this is a great thing to serve with your mussels. So now we're going to take a look at them. A lot of times we would serve them into a bowl, we'd toss them, drop them into a bowl. But if you have a dish like this, why not just serve it right out of the dish? It's one less thing you have to wash. So when you're ready to take off your lid and there's a lot of steam in there, be sure to lift the lid away from you. It's like a shield, okay? If I did it this way, that steam is coming right up on my arm and it's going to burn you. So shield it, and they're ready to go. So you put your thing down here, and now we bring them over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through. We always like to inspect and make sure they've all opened. Toss them around. Now again, something like this is opened, right? But some people might think it's not completely opened, it's dead. The best thing to do is just look, inspect it, open it, and take, I mean, it smells fine. Just sometimes these little abductor muscles are weak, okay? We're all not strong. It just can't lift its shell up, can't open its shell. All right? But really the indication is really smell and look, okay? If the mussel was all shriveled and stretched out, why eat it? There's plenty more to eat. And then what we love to do is we like to finish it with aioli. Aioli is garlic mayonnaise, really simple, easy to make. We usually drizzle it over. It gets incorporated into the broth, and it just really intensifies that flavor. So again, you see how many times we've introduced garlic, okay? It's just a really important product. And we just drizzle it right around. And then you would save a little bit for dipping the mussels in. And then another thing we like to do, paprika, fennel pollen, all these, you can even do something called gremolata, which is chopped parsley, garlic, and lemon sprinkled over. We just want to dust this with a little bit of, we're using right now some smoked paprika. And again, the heat from the mussels, it just perfumes the dish. So when you're getting ready to eat this, that's the first thing you're going to smell. So this is a customer favorite of our steamed mussels with aioli and the garlic crostini. And we hope to be doing more of these videos with all of our customers' favorite dishes. We'll do as many as we can. We know there's rumors out there that Chez Pascal is closing. It's very sad, and we are in the process of trying to move to Singapore. This is a great opportunity for Kristen and I, but we are super sad that we're leaving our staff who have been with us forever. One of the hardest decisions we've had to make. But it's just something that we feel we really need to do, and would be foolish not to take this opportunity. So we'll keep trying to do these dishes for you guys, and below feel free to comment on what you'd like to see, and if you haven't subscribed, do so. We're really going to try to keep this going. Even though we're going to be closing at the end of March or April, we're here until the end of summer, so we're going to try to do some more videos, and who knows, maybe we take it overseas with us. You never know. So stick with us, and we appreciate all you, and we'll see you again. What's up?